So let's talk about Motion, a company now worth over $500 million. But this isn't really a story about software. It's about a series of just massive, high-stakes bets, and it all starts with one of the toughest decisions any founder could ever make. All right, let's get into it. $1 million. I mean, for pretty much anyone, that is life-changing money. But for the founders of Motion, it was basically the price of admission. This is how much they had to literally just walk away from. Guaranteed bonuses they forfeited just to chase an idea. And that's not an exaggeration. To hear co-founder Harry Kui tell it, they were each giving up nearly $1 million. And this wasn't some, maybe bonus, it was a sure thing. Which just makes you wonder, what on earth could possibly be worth that big of a sacrifice? That insane decision? Well, that was just the very first of many bets the Motion founders would make. And they weren't betting on an idea, they were betting on themselves. So who are these guys? It's three friends, Omi, Harry, and Ethan. And look, these are not your typical startup founders tinkering in a garage. These guys were high school math Olympiad champs, and they became super successful quant traders, pulling in seven-figure salaries when they were still in their early 20s. But in 2019, they decided to just leave it all behind. And as you can probably guess, their parents thought they were completely nuts, telling them, hey, why don't you just bank that money for 5 or 10 years first? But nope, they were ready to risk it all. So they take the leap. And at first, man, it looked like their bet was paying off big time. But what looked like a mountain of success was actually something else. It was a false peak, and it was leading them straight towards a dead end. The speed they moved at was just incredible. So after they had to pivot away from a sports betting idea in Y Combinator, they built this AI calendar app for regular people. The second they launched it, growth just exploded. I'm talking they went from basically zero to $1 million in annual recurring revenue, ARR, in just 2 months. And over the next couple of years, they scaled that thing up to almost $20 million. Okay, so they've got this fast-growing, super profitable business. By any metric you can think of, they'd made it, right? But then, one conversation with one of their mentors completely shattered their idea of success. Let's just sit with this for a second. $20 million a year. They had given up their cushy jobs, and it worked. They were on top of the world. And then, they took a meeting. And this is what they heard. Yeah, you guys are fucked. Can you imagine hearing that when you think you're absolutely crushing it? It was a massive wake-up call that made them question literally everything they were doing. So what was the deal? I mean, how could a $20 million a year business possibly be a dead end? Well, the answer comes down to this really important business idea. It's something you could call the nice-to-have ceiling. See, their app was great, people liked it, but for most folks, it wasn't essential. Their businesses weren't going to crumble without it. And when your product is just nice to have, people don't stick around as long. It puts a cap on your growth, and you can never really become a true billion-dollar company. Sure, they could have stayed a profitable $20 million business, but that wasn't the goal. And this is where the second huge bet comes into play. They're staring this reality in the face, and they make another gut-wrenching decision to pivot away from their successful product, to basically start from scratch, all to chase a much, much bigger vision. The strategic change was crystal clear. They had to get away from being a nice-to-have tool for consumers, which had a built-in ceiling, and become a must-have platform for businesses. So they decided to build this all-in-one work management tool, something their customers literally could not do their jobs without. That was the path to a billion-dollar company. And that incredibly hard pivot led them to what they're doing now, which is this wildly ambitious vision, creating a world where humans and AI employees work right alongside each other.
So here's how the new platform works. A business creates a project. Some of the tasks go to the human team members, but the other tasks, the boring, repetitive stuff, can be assigned directly to what Motion calls AI employees. And since it's all in one system, the handoff between a person and the AI is totally seamless. They're not just helping you manage work anymore, they're actually doing the work for you.
So, did the bet pay off? Just look at this growth chart. After they launched their new AI product in early 2024, they went from zero to over $10 million in annual recurring revenue from just that product line in a matter of months. It was just insane validation that they made the right call. But what is it that really drives this relentless need to win? To sacrifice millions, to walk away from a successful company and start all over? Well, it goes a lot deeper than just business strategy. It's personal. For one of the co-founders, Ethan,
It comes from being a first-generation immigrant. He just felt this intense need to prove himself, to make sure all the sacrifices his parents made to give him a better shot at life were worth it.
And for Harry, the motivation is even more primal. He says the shame of failing would just be too much to handle. For him, the pressure to win is so high that actually making it work, no matter how hard it is the most comfortable path. That is a seriously powerful psychological driver.
And this number right here, this represents another huge piece of what drives them, 150.
That's how many investors said no to them after their YC demo day. They were trying to raise money right when the COVID-19 pandemic hit, and they just got rejected over and over and over. That whole experience left them with what they call a giant chip on their shoulder, this burning desire to prove 150 people wrong.
And all of this leaves us with one final thought. For a lot of people, success is about the thrill of victory. But for founders like the ones in motion, the story is a bit more complicated. So what happens when the fear of losing isn't a weakness, but it's actually your greatest strength? Well, for motion, it seems to be the very engine that's pushing them towards a billion-dollar future.